Hello everyone, my name is Bhavna Singh. I am working as an assistant professor at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon. This is an online tutorial on software engineering. So let's begin with today's session. Students, in today's session we are going to discuss all these topics of Unit 4. That is, we'll talk about what is debugging, then what are the various debugging techniques. Then we'll discuss the software maintenance and its types, and at the end we'll talk about the reverse engineering and its various approaches. So let's begin with the first topic, that is what is debugging. So what is debugging? The detection of errors and removal of those errors is called debugging. Debugging means identifying, locating and correcting the bugs, usually by running the program, and these bugs are usually the logical errors. So debugging consists of determining the exact nature and location of the suspected error and fixing those errors. So here by bugs we mean that various kinds of errors, various kinds of logical errors that can occur in the software program, and this debugging means by this technique of this debugging we are removing those errors. So therefore it is debugging is the process of removing the errors that have occurred in the software program, and this process starts after the software has failed and it is failed to execute completely, or it is failed to fulfill all the expectations of the user, and after the testing process we have found out various kinds of errors. So therefore we called it as debugging. In debugging process we identify, analyze and remove all those errors that have occurred in the program, and this debugging activity, it begins whenever the software fails to execute properly, and it ends when we solve the problem completely and the successfully testing the software. So removing all kinds of bugs or all kinds of errors from the software is known as the debugging, and it is considered to be one of the most complex tasks, because we have to resolve all the errors at all the stages of the development process. And one more thing you should understand here, students, that there is a difference between testing and debugging, because in testing what we do, we are just finding out the errors. Whenever these testing process they are conducted by the testing team, so they are just finding out the bugs or they are just finding out the errors. But in case of debugging, what we are doing, we are removing those errors that have occurred in the testing process. And in testing we are just testing out the project or testing out the program at the unit level, at the integration level and at the system level, and we are finding out various kinds of errors. But in case of debugging, it starts whenever we have found out some bugs or whenever some errors have been identified in the software, and we are removing those errors and we are removing those bugs with the help of certain debugging tools. So therefore the entire process of removing all kinds of errors is known as debugging. Now let us discuss some of the debugging techniques with the help of which we will be able to remove the errors from the software program. So the first technique is brute force technique. This brute force technique is a most commonly debugging technique, you can say, but it is not that much efficient. And what we do in this debugging technique, that we the program is loaded with some output statements, like you can say the print statements, and which will print all the information, or you can say which will produce a large amount of information, including some intermediate values of the variables, and we can just check the values of these variables in order to identify the errors cause. But this is a least efficient method, because it is requiring a huge amount of information to be analyzed, and so that irrelevant data is also leading to the waste of time as well as waste of memory and waste of efforts. So this is not that much effective, and we generally use it when all other available methods are failed. So in that case we use this brute force technique. Then the second technique, we have the backtracking technique. Backtracking debugging is mostly used for these small programs, and according to this technique, what happens that when an error has occurred, we start backtracking the program backward one step at a time and evaluating all the values of all the variables until we found out the cause of the error. But this is effective for the small programs only, because in that we have a certain limited number of lines of code, so it will be easier for the programmer or for the tester, or you can say for the debugger, to analyze all these statements and to backward all the program. But in case of large program, this strategy is not that much useful, because in large program we have thousands lines of code, and in that number of backward path they will increase and it will become unmanageable by the programmers. Then the next technique, we have the debugging by induction. In this, induction process is used when we start from the particulars of a situation to the entire program, and in this we the entire process is organized, and the debugging testers, they locate all the data and they devise a hypothesis also, so that a kind of a clue structure can be used for identifying that what is the main cause and where the error has been occurred, and how it is has been occurred. So all these things, using the induction process, we are testing the entire program. Then the next, we have the debugging by deduction. Now what happens in this debugging by deduction? In this, the technique or the debugger, they determines all the possible causes of the errors, and they uses certain data to eliminate all those causes, and after that they refine the remaining cause into a particular hypothesis and then prove it. So this deduction means that they are entirely removing all the error causes, and they are entirely eliminating all the causes that are responsible for the occurrence of the errors. Then in the last technique, we have the debugging by testing. See what happens in testing, that we are developing certain test cases and we are designing the good test cases in order to test the entire program. So the similar thing is also happening in debugging, but in case of debugging, we are designing different test cases that were used in the testing process, and in this the debugging, some test cases, they are specifically designed in order to explore the internal program state, so that we'll be able to remove the causes of the error entirely from the internal structure. Now here comes the next topic, that is what is software maintenance. Software maintenance is the term that is commonly used to refer to the modifications that are made to the software system after its release. And according to IEEE, software maintenance is modification of a software product after delivery to correct faults, to improve performance or other attributes, or to adapt the product to a modified environment. And it is a software engineering activity that occurs following delivery of a software product to the customer. Now what does this means? Maintenance means that whenever we have delivered the software product to the customers, now there are some issues that are occurring at the customer end, and we need to modify all those errors, or we need to correct all those faults that are occurring at the customer's end. So in order to correct all these faults and in order to improve the performance or various other attributes that are occurring at the customer's end, so we need to do the maintenance process. As for example, you can say that whenever we buy a car, so after buying and after some time, it requires a maintenance process also. So because of certain changes, or because of customers perspective, or because of changing demand of the market or changing demand of the customer, these kinds of activities, they are required at some time. So therefore we need a software maintenance also, as in case of other things, that as in case of we require a car maintenance, or we whenever we buy some any other product, that too also requires a maintenance. So like that way also, this software product also requires the maintenance. So therefore we call it as it is a process to modify and update the software application after we are delivering it to the customers, in order to correct some errors or in order to improve the performance. See what happens, because what software we are delivering to the customer, it is a real world object, right? And whenever there are some changes in the real world, so that software will also require some alteration wherever possible. So therefore we need the maintenance process in order to improve the performance. And we need to do this maintenance because whenever there are some errors, or whenever there is a change in some user requirements or some hardware or software requirements, and we need to modify some components that are changing with the changing environment, so all these things, they need to be rectified, and all these things, they need to be corrected, or they need to be maintained with time. So therefore this process of software maintenance is required. Now these are the maintenance activities that go hand in hand with each of these followings, and we need to take care of all these phases. So we start with the first phase, that is identification and tracing. Now what happens in this phase, that we analyze or we identify all the requirements that are related to the modification or that is maintenance is required. So we identify all those parts or all those portions, and these requirements, they can be either generated by the user of this program, or they can be generated by the system also by providing some error messages, or in case we are getting some error messages, then we need to identify all those causes of errors and all those requirement of modification. So in this we are doing identifying the basic causes. Then the second phase, we have the analysis. In this, whatever we have identified or whatever modification we have identified, we analyze it so that in order to identify that what will be the impact of this system if we do certain modifications, including the safety or the security implications. And if the impact is very much severe, then we find out some alternative solution to look into it. So like this, all the cost of the modification and what will be the time required and what will be the efforts that will be required in the maintenance, all these things, they are estimated and analyzed in this analysis phase. Then the next phase, we have the design. In this we design certain new modules if they need to be replaced or modified with some other modules. So designing is done of in this phase of new phases, and some test cases, they are created for validation and verification. So all these designing of new modules in order to replace the old one, we do in this designing phase. Then the next phase comes the implementation phase. In this implementation phase, whatever modules that we have designed or whatever the architecture of the new modules that we have created in order to replace the older one, now we do the coding for that modules with the help of using some designing or some programming methods that were created in the designing stage. Then the after doing implementation means that we have converted that design into the code, or you can say into the software code. Then now we are doing the system testing. System testing means that after doing the implementation or after generating the programming code, we are now testing it, and we are testing all the newly created modules, and this can be done by integration testing or either by the unit testing. And then after doing all the unit testing, in which we test the single modules, and after combining all these single modules, we do the entire integration testing of combining all the modules. And finally, after integrating all the sub modules also, the entire system is tested as a whole. Now we have tested the entire system also after creating all the modules, so we send it for the acceptance testing. And this acceptance testing, when we have tested the system internally, it is tested for acceptance by the users only. And if at this stage also, if the user complains some issues, so all those issues, they were noted in the address in order to test or in order to retest all those modules. Then the finally, after doing all these testing and after the user satisfaction, we deliver it. Then there comes the delivery phase, and after the system is deployed all over the company, either by small update packages, or we provide the fresh installation of the entire system. And there, after the final testing takes place at the client end, and after we have delivered the software, then the final testing occurs at the client end, and all these issues, they were addressed if the client has some problems or if has some issues related to that. And the entire management or entire maintenance process ends with the maintenance management. In this we provide all the control tools in order to control the version or in order to control the software. So this is how the entire maintenance activities occurs during the maintenance of a particular software. We start with the identification and we end with the maintenance of the software. Now there are basic three types of software maintenance. The first one is the corrective maintenance. Corrective maintenance means that whenever we find some remaining errors in the software product, and whenever some modifications is required or some defects, they need to be rectified. So in this corrective maintenance, all these defects or all these remaining errors of the software product, they are corrected and they are modified. Then the second we have the adaptive maintenance. Adaptive maintenance means modifying the entire software product so that it will be able to react, or it will be able to compatible with the changes in the outside environment in which the system will operate. For example, we have created the system in the development side, and now we are installing it at the customer end, so it needs to be react according to that changes in the outside environment. So in this adaptive maintenance, all the issues related to the adaptive nature or related to the adjustment of the software in order to accommodate all the changes in the outside environment or according to be compatible with the customer's environment. So these all kinds of issues, they are solved in this adaptive maintenance. Then the next we have the perfective maintenance. Perfective maintenance means we are doing the entire work for improving the efficiency and performance and maintainability and effectiveness of the software product. So basically this perfective maintenance, it involves changing the entire software so that we can able to improve its quality, and will be able to add some new functions or improve the performance of the application and making it easier for the user to use it. So all these changes related to the efficiency, related to the performance, related to the quality, they are handled in the perfective maintenance, and we are providing the perfect software to the customer. Now we'll talk about the next topic, that is what is a reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is the process of recreating a design by analyzing a product. And reverse engineering is the process followed in order to find difficult, unknown and hidden information about a software system. It is a process of recovering the design, requirement specifications and functions of a product from an analysis of its code. It builds a program database and generates information from this. That means by means of this reverse engineering, we are recreating a product. What happens in SDLC, that we are starting with the initial phases like requirement gathering, and then doing the feasibility study, and then doing the designing, and at the end we reach to implementation, that is the code part. But what is happening in this reverse engineering, that means we are going in the reverse direction from the, that is from the code section to the requirement, or you can say from the code section to the specification design. So in this we are going in the reverse direction as compared to the SDLC model, in which we are going from the specification to the coding part. But now in reverse engineering we are going in reverse direction, that is we are working on the existing system that is previously implemented, and now we are collecting information about the specification and about all the hidden information that we don't know. So in this reverse engineering, we are doing the engineering process in the reverse direction. But here a question arises that if we have already done with the implementation of existing software, then what is the need of this reverse engineering? Because sometimes what happens that we need to deal with the complexity, and we need to generate some alternate views, or we need to recover some lost information, and we need to gather some information that is hidden from us, that we don't know, or that the developer don't know, or they don't know about the what are the side effects of these system can be. And sometimes they want to improve the documentation shortcomings that were previously in the existing system. So in order to deal with all these kinds of issues, or in order to deal with all kinds of problems, we need to reverse engineer the existing process or existing product. Now by following all these steps, we perform the reverse engineering process. That is, the first one is information collection. In this information collection means that we are collecting all the possible information about the software related to its design or related to its coding. So all these information we gather in this information collection. Then after collecting all the information, we go for the examining the information. That means whatever information we have collected, now we are examining it, now we are studying it, so that we'll be able to get familiar with the system, and we'll be able to move further with this system. Then after collecting and after examining all the information, we are now extracting the system. Extracting means we are just identifying the program structure in form of a structure chart, you can say, or in form of a certain hierarchy, you can say, where each node it is representing some routine or each node is representing some task. So we are just extracting the entire structure, that how the program is connected or how the each module is connected to each other. Then after drawing the structure chart for the various modules of the program, we are just record the data flow, and we just provide the data flow diagrams that we have already discussed, like the DFTs, in which we derive how in which we show that how the entire data is moving or how the entire data is flowing inside the processes, and how all these data are stored and coming from various sources and going to various sources. So all these things we record in the form of some DFT, that is data flow diagrams. And after doing this DFT, after controlling or recording these data flow diagrams, we record the control flow. That means we provide some high level control structures of the software in order to produce the required result. Then we perform the next step, that is review extracted design. Review extracted design means in this we are reviewing the design that we have made on the basis of this data flow diagram and on the basis of this control flow diagram. So we maintain a entire design document, and it is reviewed several times so that we will be able to sure about the consistency and correctness, and it also provides the ensure, or you can say surety about the design that is representing the project or that is representing the program. Now we are done with all the designing and all the control flow, all the data flow diagram, and we are done with all the information collection. So finally we generate the documentation, and this complete documentation includes all the SRS, all the design document, all the overview of the entire system, and all the history that we have collected and that we have studied of the entire existing system. So all these information regarding the existing system, they are recorded so that we can use it for the in the future for our development process. So students, so far we have discussed about the reverse engineering, and we have already discussed about the SDLC, that is the forward engineering, in the first unit itself. So now we are able to clearly differentiate between the forward engineering and the reverse engineering. As you can already see in the figure also, that in forward engineering we are starting with the initial step, that is we are starting with the system specification, in which we gather all the requirements from the customer, and then on the basis of that we do the feasibility study, and then we go to the designing and implementation, in which we design the architecture of the entire system, and after in the implementation we convert that design into the coding part, and after doing coding we just go for the testing part, and our new system is developed. So in forward engineering we are starting with the system specification, that is the initial step, and we are ending with a new system, that is the final product which will be developed to the customer. But in case of reverse engineering, you can already see that we are starting with the existing software system, because in this reverse engineering we are starting in the reverse direction. That means we are starting from the last stage to the first stage. So we are going in the reverse direction as compared to the forward engineering. So in this reverse engineering we are starting with the existing software that is already existing, and we have all the coding and implementation of that software system, and then on the basis of these existing software system we are understanding and transforming all these information and collecting all these information and examining, and then we are providing the DFDs and making the structure chart on the basis of the knowledge that we have gained from the existing software system, and then we are re-engineering the system. That means we are recreating the entire design. So this reverse engineering is going in the reverse direction as compared to the forward engineering. Let us now understand some of the reasons that why this reverse engineering is required when we have a certain existing software. So what is the need of this reverse engineering? So here are the reasons. The first one is the interfacing. Interfacing means that whenever there is a system which we require to interface it with some another system, so in order to provide the interface between these two systems, sometimes we need to do the reverse engineering so that both the systems, they can become compatible with each other. Then the second, we have improved documentation shortcomings. For example, whenever there is a documentation of a design, for its design, production and operation and maintenance, they have certain bugs or they have certain shortcomings and they need to be rectified. So, and we don't have the original designer so that they can be explain each and everything to the users or to the other team members. So in that case we need to do the reverse engineering, and in order to improve the documentation shortcomings. Then the next we have, when we have to fix some bugs that are coming in the legacy software, or the software has become outdated, and sometimes we need to enhance the features of this software which is no longer supported by its creators, and it needs some rectification and it needs to fix some bugs in that. So in that case we do the reverse engineering. Then in order to provide the product security analysis, for example, we are examining that how the product is working and what are the specification of its components, we are estimating cost, and in order to identify all the potential threats that can occur. So in order to provide all these security features, or in order to add or integrate some more features to the product that is existing, so we need to do the reverse engineering. And at last, sometimes it becomes, the software becomes obsolete, and in that case it is not working in a proper condition and it is not maintainable, and because of this we need to redesign the entire product. So in all these cases we need to do the reverse engineering whenever we are having the existing software, but that also, in that case also, we need to rectify these softwares. Now let us discuss some of the important questions that can be framed based on these topics that we have discussed in today's session. The first one is, what is the need of debugging? Why we need to remove errors? So this you have to explain, and you have to explain its various techniques that we have discussed, like the reduction, induction method, testing method, brute force. So all these techniques you have to explain in this question. Then the second we have the, explain the concept of software maintenance. What are its various types? Now why we do software maintenance, and what are its various types by which it can be done, and what are the various maintenance activities. So you have to explain all these steps in this question. So students, that's all for today. I hope you have understood the concepts well, and in the next session we will continue with the software re-engineering and configuration management, as well as the documentation of software. Till then, you all take care of yourself, keep learning, and thank you so much for watching.